we want to get right to our guest tonight for 7 Up Front. Joining me now is Gary Brown, the director of the Detroit Water and Sewerage Department. Gary, thanks for your time. Thanks for being there. Gary, can you hear me?
I apologize, Dave. I had the mute button on. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
We appreciate your time. Hey, let's start with this. Many are questioning the Great Lakes Water Authority and its role following the devastating flooding. You recently announced an independent investigation would be done. Will it give us answers and accountability for what happened?
Absolutely, it will. It'll do both of those things. And I can assure you today, I participated in an ad hoc committee that is going to select an attorney on Wednesday, next Wednesday, who will then engage an engineering firm to begin the investigation and get to the bottom of what happened, how we can make sure that it never happens again. And if people need to be held accountable, that will take place also.
Is there a long-term solution to ensure these kind of flooding events don't happen again? And if so, what is it? Because nothing seemingly changed after the 2014 flood, right?
Yeah, well, you're right. The long-term solution is very expensive and more than 10 years away, and that's separating stormwater from sewage, a combined system. How do you separate the stormwater from sewage? That's a long way away. It's very expensive. In the short term, though, the mayor would like to convince the federal government that it would be cheaper for them to fund hardening the target, homes, going into homes and putting in check valves or backflow preventers immediately would certainly be cheaper than paying out these damage claims. And so we're going to do a cost analysis and try to convince the government that that's something that's worthwhile funding.
Well, the question of power outages at pumping stations, that was said to be one cause of an issue here. Is there no emergency backup power at these stations? And if they're not manned also when heavy rains are forecast, why not?
Yeah, well, they certainly they have to be manned because they're not automated for sure. And the investigation will get to the bottom of how much damage was exacerbated by those pumps not working. It's a fact that the amount of rain, 7 to 8 inches on the east side, was going to cause flooding. But it's also a fact, if the pumps aren't working at firm capacity, at maximum capacity, that the damage is exacerbated. And that's what the investigation is going to get to the bottom of. Was it a staffing issue? Why aren't backup generators kicking in, and those type of things?
Well, hopefully many people are hopeful that we'll get some answers there. So, Gary, what do families do right now to help protect their homes from flooding? You mentioned those check valves. Is that something every homeowner should certainly investigate if they possibly can?
Yeah, certainly. If you live in a low-lying area, certainly if you live south of Jefferson near the river, if you can afford it, you should be putting in a check valve on your lateral sewer line. If you're going to replace a hot water tank, consider getting a tankless tank that can hang on the wall. If you have to put a tank on the floor, then put it up on blocks. And so some pumps are also an option for some homes. And again, if you can afford to do it, you should do it. And we're going to do everything we can to convince the federal government that this is a good investment, certainly cheaper than coming into town with 40 FEMA investigators and paying out large sums of money in damage claims.
And finally, what's your message to families, I guess, who have lost so much and are demanding, looking for some action to improve things?
I just, first of all, I want to thank the men and women at the Detroit Water and Sewer System. We live in this city. 56% of us, my employees, live here. We feel really bad, and we're sorry that this is happening to people, and that we're working hard to make sure that we're getting the water out of the basements, that we're going to be able to sanitize and clean those homes of the most vulnerable of our citizens, our seniors that are disabled, have kids under 10 in those homes. We're going to do everything we can to get you back to normal as quickly as possible. So call your insurance company and certainly fill out those FEMA forms. People are on the ground. They'll be writing checks soon. and we want you to take advantage of that.
Excellent. We'll stay on this, Gary. We appreciate your time tonight and your work at trying to get to a fix to help so many who suffered once again as a result of these floods.
Share.
Gary, thank you. We have a list of other Michigan resources that can help after this devastating flooding on our website. Just head to WXYZ.com.